Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that every hour you have spent exhausting yourself over the last decade was a brilliant, disciplined solution to the exact wrong problem. You have been led to believe that acquiring real wealth, especially now that you are in the middle chapters of your life, requires a stroke of genius, a reckless appetite for risk, or a lucky break that simply hasn't found you yet. You have been conditioned to think that the reason you are not financially untouchable is because you haven't worked quite hard enough, or because you haven't discovered the right hidden secret. The uncomfortable truth is much quieter and vastly more confronting. You are not lacking effort. You are lacking leverage. Getting rich after 30 is brutally simple. But simplicity feels like an insult to a mind that has been conditioned to suffer. When you have spent the first half of your career trading your time, your health, and your peace of mind for an income, the idea that wealth is structural rather than strictly earned through sweat feels like a betrayal. You are intelligent. You are experienced. You have done exactly what society asked of you. You built the resume, you acquired the skills, you climbed the ladder, and you secured the stability. Yet, beneath the surface of that stability, there is a quiet, gnawing fatigue. A suspicion that the math of your life is not compounding in your favor. You are beginning to see the illusion. You are beginning to realize that most people, perhaps even you, fundamentally confuse income with power. Income is what you are paid to maintain the machinery. Power is owning the machinery. Income is the apology the system gives you for consuming your most finite resource, your time. As long as your financial strategy relies on detrading your direct effort for dollars, you are trapped in a game of motion. Motion feels productive. It creates heat, it creates exhaustion, and it creates the illusion of momentum. But motion is not leverage. Leverage is the ability to disconnect your input from your output. Leverage is building, buying, or controlling systems that operate independently of your daily exhaustion. When we look at the mechanics of power and wealth, stripping away the morality and the romanticism we like to attach to success, we find a cold, clear reality. It is a reality recognized centuries ago by those who understood statecraft and human nature. Power does not consolidate around those who are the most virtuous, the most loyal, or the most tired. Power consolidates around those who understand incentives. The system does not reward loyalty. It never has. The system rewards ownership, influence, and control. In your 20s, ignorance is masked by endless energy. You can afford to make mistakes, to run blindly into walls, to trade your labor for the mere promise of future security. But after 30, the rules change. Your energy is no longer infinite. If you try to compete on raw effort in the second half of your life, you will lose. The advantage you possess now is experience. But experience is completely useless if it is not used strategically. Most people use their decades of experience merely to negotiate a slightly higher wage within the same trap. They use their specialized knowledge to become a more expensive cog. The strategic mind does not ask, how can I get paid more for my work? The strategic mind asks, how can I position myself so that the work is doing itself, while I capture the value? This requires a shift in how you view human nature and economic reality. The architects of modern wealth do not rely on the goodwill of their employers, the fairness of the market, or the hope of a distant retirement. They understand that people and markets are driven by self-interest. To secure your position, you must align your financial architecture with the inevitable incentives of others. You must place yourself at the choke points of value. You must stop trying to be the best worker and start becoming the owner of the outcome. Why do the people who seem to work the least end up holding the most? It is not because they are inherently corrupt, it is because they are operating on an entirely different axis. They have stepped outside the arena of effort and entered the arena of strategy. They see the board. The reason this transition is so exceedingly difficult for smart, self-aware people is not because the mechanics of wealth are complex. The mechanics of wealth are almost insultingly basic. Acquire assets that produce cash, build systems that scale without your daily intervention, and control resources that others need. The difficulty is entirely psychological. To pivot toward real wealth requires you to step out of the identity you have built around being a hard worker. For decades, your competence and your busyness have been your armor. Being relied upon, being stressed, being the one who solves the problems. This has been your psychological safety. Comfort and stability are the most dangerous traps of the middle years. A six-figure salary, a nice house, and a decent title can be the silken handcuffs that prevent you from seeking actual freedom. You have just enough to be comfortable, but not enough to be free. You have just enough to lose, which makes you deeply risk-averse. But your definition of risk is flawed. You believe that stepping away from the predictable exchange of time for money is risky. You believe that investing capital to buy back your time is risky. Look at the reality of your current position. What is actual risk? Real risk is tying your entire financial survival to your physical ability to keep working at a high level until you die. Real risk is leaving your financial destiny in the hands of corporate entities that will replace you the moment a cheaper, younger alternative becomes viable. Real risk is arriving at the age of 60, exhausted, realizing you built an empire for someone else, and you are being asked to quietly exit the stage. You must stop seeking permission from a system designed to exploit your obedience. Wealth is not a reward handed down by authority figures for a job well done. Wealth is a mathematical outcome of leverage and positioning. It is captured, not granted. To master this phase of your life, you must become ruthlessly objective about where you place your time and your capital. Every dollar you earn must be viewed not as a means to purchase more comfort, but as a soldier in an army you are building to buy back your autonomy. Every piece of specialized knowledge you possess must be extracted from the confines of your daily job and transformed into an asset you own. You must strip away the illusion that busyness equals importance, the illusion that loyalty equals security, the illusion that you need a complex, once-in-a-lifetime idea to build significant wealth. You do not need to invent the future. You merely need to position yourself in the path of capital flow and own a piece of the structure. The simplicity is what makes it brutal. There is nowhere to hide once you see it. You can no longer blame your lack of wealth on the fact that you aren't smart enough, or that the world is unfair. The rules of the game are sitting right in front of you, entirely devoid of emotion. You are standing at the threshold of the most potent years of your life. You have the intellect, you have the capital, and you have the scars to prove you can survive. The question is no longer whether you are capable of doing the work. The question is whether you are willing to let go of the struggle. When you truly accept that nobody is coming to save you, and that the system is operating exactly as it was designed to, a profound silence takes over. The panic fades. The desperate need to hustle evaporates. You stop reacting to the immediate pressures of your environment, and you begin to construct your reality with cold, deliberate precision. The hardest pill to swallow in the second half of your life is not that it is too late. The hardest pill to swallow is the realization of how incredibly close you have always been, separated from freedom not by a lack of effort, but by a simple, quiet refusal to see the world exactly as it is.